Hey everyone, welcome to Someone You Need to Know. I'm your host, Rashanah Baldwin, award-winning journalist, powerful storyteller, and social architect. Each episode, we dive into the stories of trendsetters, change makers, and everyday heroes who are shaking things up and making a real difference. Get ready to hear the good news you won't find in the headlines, inspiring stories of people leaving the world better than they found it. Now, let's dive into someone you need to know. Welcome to my podcast, Someone You Need to Know. I'm excited to interview you because Alani Harris told me so much about you, from all the architect work you do to 3D design. So you're building communities around the city of Chicago. Dr. Johnny L. Mullins, welcome to Someone You Need to Know.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So you're a nationally recognized architect, a community psychologist, a developer who bridges the gaps between design and innovation and social impact. Where did you start? If you can give me a couple sentences, I have your amazing bio with all your accolades, but give me a brief overview of how you got started.
Okay, well, brief is hard, but let's see if we can
Take
do
your
it.
time. We got
Yeah.
all the time.
So, like most African Americans that migrated from the South to the North, like Chicago, New York, and things like that, we probably came from a more poverty-stricken family or home um, bringing or whatever. So once we got to Chicago, it was a big family. We grew up and started off in Stateway Gardens and then ended up moving into Inglewood. And, that was a come up for us coming out of Mississippi. We are like, oh, this is great. Even the high rise in Stateway, you're like, oh man, we made it. But you started realizing that, as everybody, once you've visited some friends from school or some other races' houses, that's when you start comparative and you can't comparing yourself to them and you start saying, oh, well, maybe we're not really doing that well. But if you never would have saw it, you'd have been like, oh man, we're good. So I grew up without a bed, fighting for a place to sleep. Where I grew up at, the family we had to basically like whoever had jobs got the bedrooms and the bed. And you would have to like basically once they get off work, you have to up that room or that bed for them. And when they at work, that's when you had the opportunity to sleep. But if we're in school while they're at work, you can kind of get where I'm going with this. They would always have it. So I asked my mom one day, can I get a bed? And she was like, yeah, you can get one. Only way you're gonna get it, and then to be able to stop sleeping on the mattresses at the alley or whatever, is to go to a vocational school. So she, looked and said, hey, you got Simeon, Tilden, Dunbar, CVS, Lane Tech, all this stuff. And I chose CVS with the whole purpose of going to that school to build me a bed. And I went to CVS, I built that bed with my own hands, designed it to a very small room where I had to basically create a very small mattress and have it manufactured. Brought it to the Inglewood, and everybody was so happy in the neighborhood for me. And that's the bed that I slept in. And from that point on is where my teacher were like, bro, you are too smart to be throwing your life away. You should go into architecture or construction or cabinet making and millwork or something. So that's how I got started.
I love that story. I'm from Inglewood, so we already have a connection there. Your career began with self-directed renovation in Bronzeville in the 90s, right? So what inspires you to take the leap? And how did that project shape your vision for equitable development?
Yeah, so once I was at SIU, which I didn't even know what a college or university was. Like me and my friend was actually running from the police and landed in Carbondale with some friends, and they told us that they were there going to school, and we were like, "What is this place?" So I was in a class. It was like a sociology class, and the teacher was kind of like telling us that these waves of movement were getting ready to happen in Chicago, and he was like, in the next 15 to 20 years, areas like Bronzeville, South Shore, Woodlawn are going to go through another little migration where um, prominent white people or different races that had left the inner city and moved to the suburbs would be switching that role and coming back to the inner cities because of the natural resources and the access to the utilities. Because if you start building communities in the suburb, you got to figure out, how do I get water to that community? How do I get electricity, gas? So in the city of Chicago, inner city, people were leaving, talking about it was too bad, and suburban living had become a big thing in the 70s. And once I graduated in the 90s, he said this would be happening in 2010, 2015. I was like, man, let me get ahead of it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going straight to Bronzeville, and I'm gonna start buying up everything I can and start, showing people that this is what we do in Lincoln Park also. So I brought the Lincoln Park concept to Bronzeville in 1992 by myself, and it was a struggle, but I got it done with the first house I built.
How did you, what was your inspiration from in terms of, development, design, architect as a child? Were you designing things? Where did that inspiration come for you to, get your degrees in architecture, design, 3D design, which is pretty impressive.
Well, thank you. Yeah, people ask that question all the time, and I don't know what I would have been because I grew up on a farm. We grew up with little or nothing. We grew our own food and stuff in Mississippi. My dad was an educator. He actually was teaching at Mississippi Valley State. I had no idea what it was at the time. And he had me basically pegged to, he was grooming me in so many words to play in the NBA. And I was pretty good in basketball. And a lot of people know that my son is at Northwestern playing basketball now, and he's killing over there. So I was like, look, you're living the dreams of your grandfather by playing basketball. So with that being said, when we got to SIU, me and my friend, there was two girls, and Jackie Harding, I just saw her a week ago, and I said, I'm gonna keep saying your name because I actually said that she saved my life. She was like, since y'all down here, y'all might as well go register. And I was like, register in what? And she was like, well, what did you do at CVS? I was like, cabinet making, millwork, carpentry. And she said, we're gonna walk over here, we're gonna ask one of the counselors. And the counselors is like, well, it sounds like he should be in architecture, interior design, fashion design, something like that, industrial design. So I was like, oh, interior design seems to be nice. Oh, I like the architecture part too, because I already got the cabinet making and millwork. I can build furniture and stuff. So I majored in architecture, interior design. I was in the fashion design building, and I fell in love with it. I was the only black person in the whole program, and graduated with honors and all of that type of stuff, and was like, okay, this is my new life right here. And they taught me how to draw. Like they literally was like, oh, your prerequisites is art classes. You got to learn. You got to take drawing classes, painting classes, and we would have to do like something like 200 sketches a day, just drawing anything, the pencil on the table, the water bottle, a sheet of paper, the person walking down the street, and you only had like something like 30 seconds to sketch everything, so you had to turn in 100 sketches a day, and they started getting better and better. It was like, okay, cool. That's how it all happened. So it definitely a learned trait, it wasn't like I was born with some special skill. And that goes to say that anybody, with the passion to learn can learn it, you know.
You just like kind of made that sound so eloquently. Like I was running from the police and we was in Carbondale and we decided to just register for school. That how, but that part right there of like how many individuals, how many people actually register for school versus just hanging out at the campus and partying. SEIU is a party school. We always known it was the school when you went to party. Even me, in the 2000s in college, like let's go party, and you went.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
impressive
especially
to
for
actually like. Well, when I say it's impressive, the discipline to actually go and register versus like, no, I'm just gonna hang out and chill.
yeah, yeah. So we were some pretty secretive guys in grammar school and high school, you know what I'm saying? Because of the line of business that I guess we were in. We didn't want everybody to know that. So so being quiet and running a stealth mission was right up our alley. You know what I'm saying? We want nobody to know nothing about us down there. We had a lot of money, and we had cars and all that type of stuff, and we started really figuring it out, you know what I'm saying? And
But Johnny, to that point, most individuals, and I'm like not trying to make it a stereotype of those individuals, guys, front girls who live that fast life. Like, no, I'm gonna keep making money. I'm gonna go ahead and keep making this fast money. So that's why I say I'm like, that's worth noting. That it's like, I need to get a degree while I'm down here. Let me go ahead and get a degree. You probably pay for your own college. If
I absolutely did. Yeah.
like you probably like,
No bill.
I know so many. I mean, whatever. I know so many friends who was in the streets and it's like, no, I'm gonna keep making this fast money. It's like you 10, 15 years later, you still doing that though.
Yeah,
The matter
exactly.
ain't laughing. So your story of like out here in the streets, running from the police to building houses and teaching young brothers and sisters how to navigate this space, that's worth noting because it's that hustle. It's a different type of hustle that our people don't always transition over to, if I could be politically
That
correct.
is actually great. See, you know a little something too coming up in Inglewood.
Yeah, I dated a couple, individuals who was, terrorists to society. And you again that statement, and they're probably watching. It's like, so 15 years later, you're still doing the same thing. Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Still, 20, 30 years later now, you could probably add.
So online, saw all the work that you're doing, seeing your social media, seeing the mentorship. What I want to know is, and this is often a cliche question of being in a white dominated space. Can you really break it down of what it is like being in a white male dominated space and showing up like in an even playing field? Like, I'm here too. Hello, hi,
Yeah.
Dr. Johnny Mullins. What's up, Wash?
Yep. Yep. Well, you got the right person you interviewing today, because
I know.
because I don't play no games. So let's just say from every action there's a reaction, right? So, the Matrix and Neo and all that type of stuff is about causality. And if we were treated with respect and nice and fair, then I wouldn't have such a grudge against these people. But as a result of that and causality, you treated me like a piece of crap coming in the industry. My first job in an architectural firm, which was very difficult, I got hired and the guy was like, "Hey, we can pay you $5 an hour." And I was like, "I'll take it, man," because at this point, I had to go back to what I was doing to survive. And I was just like, now I need the experience because it's sad that you graduate from a university, top of your class, and every interview you go to, you're hearing either you're overqualified for the position or you don't have enough experience. So I'm like, okay, that's the first game right there that we as Black people probably encounter once we graduate from these universities. I'm like, Jesus Christ, overqualified, not enough experience. Like, man, that's crap. So I took the first job at a structural engineering firm, and I got in and I was excited, like, oh, I finally get a chance to draw something and design something and use my brain to create and build stuff. And the guy was like, "Oh, no, 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 no. You're not gonna be drawing. You're gonna be the chauffeur. You're gonna drive me down to Springfield, every week so that I can lobby for more work, because we were building bridges and highways. It was a structural engineering firm that did civil and trains and all that type train tracks and stuff." I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna start off like this." So I don't know, right? I've never worked in an architecture firm, so I'm like, I guess you just have to work your way up. I guess the last person, he had to have a chauffeur before me. So I don't know if he over there being a designer now at the desk. So I was like, all right, whatever, man. As long as I can get in here and learn, I'll take it. So $5 an hour to drive this man around and go get his McDonald's every day. And when I take him to Springfield, you would think that they would have a hotel room for me because we there for like 3 or 4 days. He's like, "No, you sleep in the car." And when he went to the meetings, he would give me the room key or access to the rooms or somewhere to go take a shower and all that stuff and go right back to the car. So I'll be in this limo for like 3 days, while they doing something in Springfield, lobbying or whatever, and then driving back Chicago and then wait next week. I'm in the office for probably 2 days trying to ask people like, "Hey man, what you working on?" Like, can I see what you're working on? And, stuff like that. And, that lets probably more people know something about me that's very humble, you know what I'm saying? But there's a balance in life, right? We got to make sure we take care of ourselves, and if we got kids and all that stuff, so you're gonna need money, you're gonna need some type of financing, and if your back is against the wall, you're gonna do whatever it takes to provide for your family and kids. On the other hand, while you're trying to get into an industry, you're like, okay, I got to eat this dirt or this bull crap until I get there. So once I started realizing that they weren't gonna give me a chance even in the firms, I would start just poking the people that work in there in every department. Hey, what department you work in? Oh, I'm in human resources and hiring. Hey, tell me all about human resources and hiring. The next person, what you in? Oh, I'm in electrical engineering. Tell me everything about electrical engineering. Oh, I'm in marketing. Tell me everything about marketing. So while I'm in there being a chauffeur making $5 an hour, I'm learning not only just architecture, I'm learning the business, how you hire people, what's the salaries, how much you pay them, how much you get paid in order to pay them. What about taxes? How do you market? And then it was this guy, Muslim guy. He was like, "Hey man, you're a pretty good dude. I'm gonna give you this book, the Holy Quran. I want you to read it. Once you read this book, I'm gonna start taking you to my house and teaching you, CAD, virtual architecture, the computer software." And that guy taught me, my first part of CAD design, computer aided drafting. And he was like, whenever the boss is not around, I'll let you do some of the work for me. And that's how I kind of like got started or whatever.
So I'm appalled that that happened. How old were you when you were driving, the guy around, sleeping in the car? That's that, yeah, that white dominant male still thinking that we are not equal.
Yeah,
What?
absolutely. I think I was about 20, 21. Yeah, somewhere around there. And they were Indian. They weren't even white. They were Indian. I'm like, shit, we was over here before you. And they was making a lot of money. A lot of money. I'm talking about we built most of them bridges you cross going down Wacker, train stations, metro train stations, bridges everywhere. A lot of major structural stuff.
How long did you stay at that, or that firm?
I think I was there for like 3 years, because once the guy was teaching me at his house, he was like, "Hey man, you probably need to just go back to school for CAD, like to just learn CAD." So I went to Daly College, but I didn't have enough money to get into Daly, and I'd be on the blocks. We'd just be on the blocks on the corner. And one of my friends, James Griffin, I'm a name drop. He was like, "Oh man, we getting this money, this Pell Grants. All you got to do is register for school, man. And you got to go to the classes, and they're gonna give you this Pell Grant for like 3 grand, and we just ball out. You know what I'm saying?" And I was like, "Hold on, wait a minute. What school you at?" He was like, "Daily." I was like, "Man, let me go to Daily. Let me get the book, to see what class." And I saw that they had computer aided drafting and design, Revit, and all this stuff. So I was like, "Bruh, if you ain't going to the class, I just need to learn it. So can I go to the class as you, and you're gonna get an A in every class, I promise you." And he was like, "I don't give a fuck. I'm not doing this. No, no, I just want the money." So I remember being at Daly College, man, and I'd be so into the books and working. And the teacher take attendance, he'd be like, "James Griffin, James Griffin." I'm just still like, working. And he'll tap me on my shoulder. "James Griffin, do you not know your name every time I take a diss?" I'm like, "Huh? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. James Griffin. Yeah, that's me. That's me, man. Can I get back to work?" So that's stuff like that, man. I say that's just a spiritual, like God has his hands on me. Cause I don't think a lot of people could think like that and do stuff like that. Yeah.
That's that hustle. That's that switching to, like, all right, that's another type of hustle that most people don't have. And would have, I know so many people. That's why they trying to snatch the pilgrims now, because of stories like that.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, yeah, yep. And they're doing a lot of with the Department of Education and this current administration. But that's a good story, to talk about your resiliency, and it leads me to the next question of you running two major firms, and how did you carve out a space for yourself in this specific field. You have two firms that you're running. One is 3M JM3
JM3,
Development
yeah.
Design, and the other one is an MOT Development.
Well, not so much the MOT. So the other one is Dr. Developers University. I kind of like switched it. MOT was a partnership with Jamal King, who's a reputable uh renovator, in the development space. I met him through the MOT project as this group of people came to me and said, "Hey, we want to build a high rise in Chicago." I was like, "Okay, that sounds cute. Do you know what it really takes to do that?" And it's like, "That's why we coming to you, because we know you've done them." And I was like, "All right, cool." And we had a conversation. I was, a little skeptical because there's not too many people that look like us in this space. And I'm like, hey, everybody think they can open up a Harold's Chicken and be a barber and open up a salon with no no formal education. And people have done it. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, hey, this is a little different. This ain't a Harold's Chicken. This is not a opening up a barber shop. This is you trying to do a high-rise building. It's gonna cost a lot of money. Where's your financing? And they said, hey, well, we have an investor. And I was like, hey, well, I need to meet them. I'm not doing anything unless because I know the space. So when I met him, it was Jamal King. So he was basically putting up most of the money. And I kept saying, hey, I can do this and I would love to do it, especially with four black men, it's a total of five. They own the land already. So site control is one of the first things that a lot of people can't do. And they had already accomplished that part. And it was in South Shore, which is right by Lake Michigan, natural body of water, prominent area where everything was being built from the Barack Obama presidential library. Tiger Woods supposed to be coming and combining both Jackson Park and South Shore golf courses for something major. And the question that I led before I jumped on board, which was financing, is the thing that basically um, prevented the project from happening. They couldn't come up with the funding sources after they promised me that they had it. So me being a person who was they put out in the front because of my experience, I was like, oh my God, didn't I tell y'all, this and that? So at that point I started saying, well, I have investors that can come in and assist with the financing, and they're black. And no disrespect to different people or the knowledge that they may have, but like I said, a spiritual essence is what I value the most in my upbringing, and it's never greed. I'm always sharing, and I will give my last dollar for something to uplift our people. And it's just that some of these people probably didn't get touched by that spirituality. I would say that because even if I offered them 65 million or brought in somebody that would put up 35 million or something like that, they would be like, oh, no, 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 we working on it, we working on it. But the underlying truth is that they were working on something else to try to put more money in their pocket. And this is my first time talking about this. And I don't care anymore because this was going to be a staple. This was something that I valued. This is something that I designed. The building was beautiful. Um, all of the different municipalities that we had to go through, everybody knew me at City Hall, Department of Planning and Development, Lakefront Development. And so people were proud when they saw my name, like Johnny, oh my God, he's about to do this. And the rest of the members, pretty much let me down, and they've also let themselves down. Even after I said, hey, I have investors that are willing to put up 35 million, 65 million to do this. Then I circled back 2 years later after that and said, hey, I'm in a position now where why don't you just sell the land to me? You know what I'm saying? And let me do it. And I still let y'all be part of it or whatever. And it's like, it's sad because this is the other problem that our people deal with every day in different fields, you know what I'm saying, in different services. And it's like it's just minus development and people just greedy and they just selfish and don't want to partner with people and don't want to share. And it's like it's terrible. So hopefully that project comes back online. I've offered again to buy it, to buy the land and do it myself or with somebody, but gotta move on. Gotta move on. So
So
no MOT is JM3 Design and Development, and Dr. Develop is you. is the two companies now.
Okay. So those two companies is rooted in the belief of architect and design that can be a tool for healing, right? Can you
Yes.
share an example of a project where you saw that impact come to life?
So it's all projects that are rooted in our communities, right? So my dissertation is development versus displacement when it comes to Native community members, right? How do we develop our communities from within and not wait for outsiders of different races to come in and develop our communities the way that they see our communities? That often involves cultural erasure, that often involves displacement from higher taxes, higher rent prices, all of this type of stuff. So how do we combat that? Because we're going to be displaced if we let the outsiders come in and tell us how to create our communities. Um, so the only way to combat it is to design from within, to take people who value our culture, as we're being the natives of that land, whether it's Inglewood or Woodlawn or whatever. We know what we do over here already. We've survived the disinvestment that we often have to deal with from the federal government, and we've survived that. So now that we got a little money, or we got Michael Jordan or Oprah helping us out a little bit, we're going to make this a better place for our kids, better educational institutions, hospital healthcare, um, getting rid of the food deserts and all that type of stuff from within. So that's always the healing that I'm talking about. That's always, everything. When you got the community saying, "Oh my God, we did it," like Lao Tzu is one of my greatest philosophers, um, who wrote the Tao, and that's what this charm is. I'm always wearing is from Taoism, and he says a leader is best when the people say we did it. You know what I'm saying? And not just him saying, I did this, I led the people. A leader is best when the people say we did it. And that's what I'm always trying to do. It's like, I don't want my face to be out there. I want everybody to do it from within. And then when you got the community involved, it's like, that's a place of healing because they saying, we did it, man. And we can pass it down to the next generation of our kids and stuff like that.
Is this where the doctor degree came in, community psychology?
Well, I wanted to be a better researcher, right? So, um, prior to having that first job for the $5, I ended up getting a job at Columbia College where I was like a technical manager advisor for the architecture program and interior design program and video game design program. So all the TAs would work for me, and I had to make sure that the teachers had everything that they needed to teach their classes, from labs, computers, printers, making sure the connectivity is right, all of that stuff. And just being able to see how you support, you know, other people, um, that the school is dependent on as a business, it taught me a lot about, just being in the role of support. So I took that on to say, okay, architecture, I've mastered architecture, right? There's
Mhm.
nothing I can't design and create. Construction, I was like, okay, now I designed a lot of stuff, but I don't know how they build it. Like, I know how they're supposed to build it, but I've never been like really in the room or every day watching it actually happen every day. So I want to switch roles and get into that. So as I started learning that stuff, I bring everything back to myself. I go out, explore, and I bring it back to Johnny Mullins. Go out, explore, bring it back to Johnny Mullins so I can go and teach my people like I'm Moses or somebody. Like I gotta go steal it from the Romans or whatever or whoever, and then bring it back to my people. I'll be right back, y'all. Don't nobody take that job until I find out what's really, involved with that job. It could be some bull crap. So I'm the test dummy, if you will. And I'm proud to be the test dummy. I go out, hey, that's true. They hiring everybody as long as you can lift 50 pounds or whatever the case may be. So as I started putting architecture and construction together, I started saying, okay, usually it's a client that come to us and say, hey, I want this designed and built, right? And you can design and build, and there's some people that did some stuff in Inglewood that just don't fit, right? And they think they're doing a good thing, and now it's like an eyesore. It's like it's nothing no more like a Whole Foods in Inglewood. It's like, well, why didn't that work, right? So the research degree came in to say, like, how do I become a better researcher? To interview, run charrettes, bring the people, the community involved. Let's design this together. Understand the needs of the community from within. That way, we won't have these eyesores, these great things that became disasters in these communities. So the PhD was a research degree to help me be a better researcher before developing.
Where did you go to school for the doctorate?
National Louis University. They're the leaders in what is called community psychology, which is an actual PhD. It's not an EDD, it's a PhD. And you would be surprised of how many foreign students come from all over the world to get in that program because they want to learn whatever they focus on to go back to their countries and deal with those issues. Like the guy who deals with the rent that you was talking about. These everybody become activists, and I was like, I'm definitely not an activist. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm still rooted in hiding from the police. So, so I was like, hey, if you good at being an activist, I need you because I ain't going out there. However, I'm gonna work it from this side, you know what I'm saying, from these other spaces that I can get in, and then because you need that balance. I need people to go fight, go out, talk crazy, marketing, put it out there while I'm working it from this side. And then together, hopefully they'll say, okay, the activists brought this stuff to our attention. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Activist, we're gonna give y'all some money. How y'all gonna get it done? And they're like, well, we don't know. We gotta hire some white people. Nah, you're gonna hire black people. That's where I come in at. You cause this commotion. We get the money off of you going crazy. And then when they say, here go the money, then you say, okay, Doc, we got our part done. What you gonna do? Okay, we finna build houses, schools, hospitals, everything that we need in these communities.
Why is mentoring the next generation for Black developers so important to you?
Because it's not enough, first of all. And I try to tell people like, hey, why settle for second best when you can be the best, right? And I say that in relationship to, okay, you can go to school for architecture and be an architect and never own your own house. You can go to school for construction and be the best general contractor on earth and build houses for everybody, but never got a chance to build your own house. These things are things that basically sit uncomfortably inside of me to say that it's like if you're not using these skills, like the foreigners come over here, and if they major in being a doctor or a pediatrician or whatever, or engineer, they're not coming over here to get a job. They come over here to learn from what is called the best engineering schools, the best medical schools, and they're going back to their country and they're gonna be that best doctor over in their country. And that's what the family got them. Like, hey, we're gonna come together, put some money together for you to go to Northwestern to learn this, and then you coming back and you gonna implement that over here. You know what I'm saying? So with us, it's like I saw too many black people being complacent in these jobs and these roles. And I would ask them, like, it's another little fable that the best barbers or the best beauticians hair is always messed up or something. It's like, why? You got to lead by example too. So if you're an architect, I feel like you should have one of the coldest houses on earth, you know what I'm saying? Because you're an architect. If you're a GC, you should have some of the best technology and construction methods on earth. And you need to exemplify that or let people come and see that for inspiration. So the first house that I built in the 90s in Bronzeville, I did it in a way based on like the Masonic order. That's a lot of religion, spirituality, architecture, design, and stuff like that. And I exposed a lot of things in the building so that when people came into my house, they'd be like, oh my God, I've never seen a staircase like that. I've never seen a window like that. I've never seen how the basement staircase is a circle And then the next staircase is a rectangle, and the square, and the next one is a triangle. And I can see from the bottom all the way to the top. And then their skylight is a is a circle, square, and triangle. So, like this vertical circulation thing, and then the materials and methods and stuff, because it wasn't just a house that I was building for myself. It was a house that I was building to inspire other Black people to say, you can do this too. You can do this too. Up in Lincoln Park designing. In Lincoln Park, my first internship was at a company up there, and these people would be buying houses in Lincoln Park that cost $3, $4 million, and they would hire us to tear that house down and build another house for $6 million. I'm like, what's going on, man? Like, that's a beautiful house you just you just wanted to tear down. We would love to have that in Bronzeville or whatever. So being groomed up in that stuff and seeing what these people were doing, I was like, I'm bringing this back to Bronzeville. The missing piece was always the finance. It's like, oh, I can be a great designer and a great builder, but how do I get the money? You know what I'm
We all
saying?
want to know, how do you get the money? How do you,
Yeah.
like, if all the work that you have done, you talk like, because I want you to share like how to navigate the space of being a developer, or architect. Where does the funding come from? And is it do yeah, how what do you do?
Right. So you start to find out one of my accountants, Larry Jones, he had built his first house as a Black man. I was like, man, how you get the money for that? He was like, oh man, there's so much red tape, but you got to have a good credit score. Then you got to have some experience. You got to have, your job, your tax returns got to be right. You can't be showing stuff like, oh, I got a refund check for $3,000, because they're gonna say, oh, you needed help from the government. You need help from the federal government. So you think we're gonna give you a loan when you need help from the federal government? So that was the first light bulb that went off. He was like, stop getting refunds, because you're never gonna get a loan with a refund check. And you like, well, man, we growing up, we like, man, do whatever you gonna do to make my refund check 4,000, 5,000, whatever, right? So once he started telling me that, he's like, nah, you got to show that you don't need the federal government assistance. And then these banks are gonna say, okay, now we can loan this person some money. Okay, how much money though? Is $10,000 enough to build a house? No. It's 20, no. 40, no. So how do I get the bigger money? And it's like, okay, well, your income has to be at a certain level, and your tax returns got to show that, I paid taxes. I paid, as opposed to getting a refund, I had to pay $15,000 for my taxes or whatever the case may be. That's when you start saying, oh, this is a different game out here. You know what I'm saying? Then you were like, okay, well, I got that part together. But yeah, I bought a few cars, and I take my time with the payment. Like, oh well, Jay, now you got this part right, but your credit score 500, man. How you gonna do that? Well, what is a credit score? People don't know this, but I think our counterparts, they learn this in probably fourth grade or something. We don't even learn this in school. This should be a class that's taught in every grade until you graduate high school. Just beat it in you, instill it in you until you know that this is what living in America is about. So you get through the credit stuff, finally get that. That take a couple of years because it ain't no fast process. It's a slow process. Oh man, I got to make every payment on time. And oh, I didn't even know what a credit report was. And what is three of them? Like three companies? I thought it was just one. It's like, oh, all three got to be straight. Well, why this company got something different than this company? So once you start learning all that stuff, then you put yourself in a better position to secure funding. And then you start talking about capital stacks and all that stuff for your project, which I can go on and on and on to talk about. But those are the beginning steps. Keep your credit straight. Stop depending on the federal government. You know what I'm saying? And earn a nice wage. You know what I'm saying? And then if we can get more people to think like that, because I'm a believer that, the each one teach one or whatever methods, like you well, let's just say you're a prominent person and you got $2 million in the bank. We have to be better at assuring you, obtaining your trust to say, hey, can you loan us together. We do this development together, and you put up $250,000 or $500,000, and it's going to yield another 500,000 or something because and then we're doing something for our people. So you're going to win in more than one way. You're going to win in providing housing for someone in your community that never had it, and you're gonna make some profit off of it, and then you got enough money to go and do it again, and you can teach that person who just bought it, and now you got three more people, just like the street game. You buy the first one, you flip it, and you get more money back, you buy some more. It's the house. Just turn that into a house. You buy one, and you keep going. So I think that's the whole point, is that financing is the basic key to any development.
Thanks for tuning in to Someone You Need to Know. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow the podcast on all major platforms and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rashanah B, for more inspiring stories. Until next time, keep shining, keep building, and keep making the world a better place, one story at a time.